this evening at Stay Studios for an incredible evening with Innersense. It's going to be all about sustainability, creativity. There is some great looks on show this evening. Fellowship members are in for a fantastic evening. Thank you so much for coming and spending your Monday night with us. We have an incredible evening for you with the fabulous Innersense.
So Innersense is a wellness system for hair, all about clean ingredients, plant botanicals infused with your stylers, color, and your care range. And on my lovely model, Vic here, I'm doing a little zone tone.
Right now she's already been cut, and we're actually going to be putting some foil work, we're going to put some highlights and play with tones a little bit. So we'll be turning it like a little bit more of copper, but we've actually mixed it with one of my favourite shades, which is called 4M, which we'll talk about a little bit further down, and it should hopefully turn it more of like a little aubergine, but still within the red tonal family, so it should be quite nice.
So what we're doing here is working with slightly richer golden tones on the underneath, and then slightly more clean, brighter blondes through the front of the hair. And the idea is that this could be done at the backwash, but obviously for the sake of showing the technique today, I'm doing on the station here. And for the underneath, I'm working with slightly more rich golden tone mixed with a little bit of our copper series. Then I'm working into a lighter version of that, diluting my tones with our clear or white, which dilutes tone and depth of the color. And then right in the front hairline, for like a little bit of a money piece, I'm working with more of a natural with clear.
So what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to really brighten up that front area. She wants a lot more dimension in the front, and the cut that she's got really focuses on like lift, volume, shape. So we're wanting to accentuate that by giving it the dimension but not making it overly too dark, keeping the warmth to it, giving it quite autumnal vibes. So what we're actually doing is we're alternating between the colours. So it'll give it a nice depth of dimension, and like I said, she's got some quite choppy layers in there, so it'll make them all stand out but not look too bold and too stripy. They'll actually blend quite nicely and just give it a really nice warmth to her face.
So you're working up through the head now.
Absolutely. So I'm working with a demi-permanent color. Our color range is 40 shades plus white, like I said, the diluting tone, and you can work. It's a hybrid color line, so you can work either a permanent color with your 10 to 40 developers, or you can mix it with 5 volume, which then creates a demi-permanent. And it's infused with hyaluronic acid, which acts as a pH balancer and creates a true demi. So I don't have to worry about bumping the base or ending up with hot roots when I tone through. And I think that's a really nice benefit of the color line. I like to say that it's like a creative colorist color. So you have limited amount of primary shades, some mixed, but the idea is to custom create and bespoke each and every shade. So within those 40 tones, we have our neutrals, golds, coppers, reds, violets, and ashes. And when I looked at them to begin with, I thought, oh, golden or yellow mixed tone. Probably not going to use that too much.
Do you use it all the time?
It's my absolute favorite.
Same,
right?
Absolute favorite, yep. A little dash of yellow or gold here and there elevates so much.
So I feel like the creativity side that the shades provide is a big win for me, and my favourite at the minute is the white, because it allows you to create amazing pastels. It takes away like the itch of the depth sometimes that you feel like it might come out a bit too strong or a bit too harsh. It really does bring that down slightly, and it's amazing.
So are we moving through to your lighter tones now?
Yes. So just to talk a little bit about the formulation, the idea here was that the underneath would be a little bit richer, like said earlier. So I'm kind of aiming for that goldeny, biscuity blonde, with a little bit darkness on the root and then a little bit lighter. When I say darker root, it's still a level 9. So I've mixed a level 9 gold, predominantly, with just a little bit of level 8 copper, and of that gold mixed tone to really kind of richen it and give it more warmth. And I've gone for a similar mixture on the ends, but just adding that white to dilute it and give it that slight sort of ombre from roots to ends. And now this might sound a little bit odd, but for the front pieces, I've actually opted to go half white, so really quite diluted blonde tone, and the other half is our 10 neutral. And the reason I choose neutral for toning is because our neutral series is quite cool based. So rather than going overly cool, it just gives me that beautiful, clean, bright blonde without shifting it too far into the goldeny tones or too far into like a violet-y, ashy tone.
Talk to us a little bit about your prep work for this. Where did you start?
So we've done quite a lot today. We've started on the hair just after 12. So we've done a lot of lightening today. There was lighter pieces on the hair already, but we went even brighter. So what we've done is, through the front, I've done a little bit of back-to-back weaving foil work, just to give that really nice diffused baby light through the hairline and through the money piece area. And then all the rest of the hair was worked with freehand painting and balayage. So we've got two different lighteners. We've got a powder, that's our sort of powerhouse, and I worked that all the way through the foil work. And then we have a freehand clay that I've used for the balayage techniques. So I can kind of get best of both worlds. Something that really gives me a beautiful clean blonde, and then something that's a little bit more subtle and not conditioning because it's a lighter, but a little bit more, subtle.
So you're working through the front now. What are your kind of final pieces that you're thinking of doing?
So this is now the lightest tone, so my 10N with white. And this is going pretty much all the way roots to ends, just getting that bright tone and neutralizing a little bit of the yellow without going too cool with it. I think it's a really nice contrast when you have those really buttery, biscuity blondes with something that's really quite just bright and clean. So it really makes the blonde pop also.
And how long would you say to process this for?
That is a great question. I think the the advice is for 20 minutes. And I think with toners, it's always nice to formulate in a way where you can let the toner sit for the whole 20. So you get maximum deposit, more longevity, amazing results for your client. But then at the same time, you know how toners are. So once it's ready to go and rinsed off. So in this case, because I have some really light pieces in there, I'm thinking anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes. Once it's there, we're good to rinse it off.
So I have alternated the colours. Again, we started with that 7C, which is a really nice, vibrant copper. And then in between those, we've then mixed it with what we call the 4M. So it's really nice for making those like deeper tones, those burgundies, those when you've got like a brown tone, but you want to give it that slight bit of warmth, maybe like kind of like the purpley side to it. So we've mixed that in to counteract the orange, and it should give it a nice aubergine colour, as Patera described it earlier.
I wanted to test the brands based on how I've used other brands. Now, I've been working with this for over a year now, but I've never had the opportunity to do what I did today. And if I can, I wanted to maybe show you the before picture. I wanted to challenge myself so that we're all hairdressers. You know, and I have pre-cut, and I'll explain what I've done, but let me explain how we got to this. Although our hair's very dark, we know that there's red, there's orange, there's gold in there. And one of the things, based on how I like to work, I tend to try and stay away from lightener if I can. So I worked with the 12N in the colour range here, which is a high lift colour. Now I'm expecting with 40 volume to be able to get 4 shades of lifted, because on the shade guide, which I should have brought to show you, the 12N sits slightly cooler and it's got a violet base. And so I knew, and I've worked the science, that if it should throw up now the warmth, and I got my lift and I got my warmth. Now, full disclosure, I did put a demi on afterwards. I can show you a picture prior to this. Now, demi, as you know, is just going to lie on the hair. So I wanted to add a bit of shine in, but I got my colour, and I thought, well, I just stop at that because I had it, but I'd put the demi on just so you guys could see it.
But sometimes the demi, for me, can be a bit like when you use the Paris filter on Instagram. It just gives you that extra little shine and sheen. And
we wanted it. We were excited, but I also wanted to show you what the product could do if I don't do that. But we're doing a show. I've already pre-cut, and at the moment I've undercut there, but that's actually not true. I'm actually going to finish bringing up the shape a little bit. And what we wanted to do was actually to create a shape that lives more through the top with a bit more life, and a bit more of a more interesting shape through the sides and back. I mean, we're working in a texture that's so versatile. I think sometimes what I'm seeing out there is that, well, we've got an afro, let's make it round, and you're like, oh my God, no, I love big afros, I do, but we can do more things, we can be more creative.
So here, definitely working with quite a squared out layer through the whole underneath. And currently I'm really into this idea of leaving like a little bit more lived in edges all the way through the hair. Little bit of detailing and cross-checking that through, point cutting into it gently. And what I'm done now on the top is I had a little horizontal panel here that I started off from. And it's sort of my favorite way of working with a short fringe, where I elevate it out first and cut it into a nice square shape through the finger. So already with the elevation, I'm creating a little bit more of a textured, soft edge to it. And then I elevate that same section straight up to remove even further weight from it. So I end up with this really kind of lived in, almost a bit sort of straggly edge that I can then point cut into on dry hair. And now I've left a little bit of a gap between my fringe and the layer. So you can see here, I've got the fringe down there, then layering through from there to the head shape, all following to the head shape and cutting on the section with no over direction. So it's quite a tight textured shape all the way through.
So I started at the bottom at the nape, and then now I'm working into the balance quite quickly. I'm taking much larger sections because I don't have the time, and then I'm leaving the fun. The fun is the top part. So if you saw me section it out, at the base is underneath, coming up through, above the occipital bone, below the parietal ridge. That's the area that I'm working on now. So there is method to my madness. I've been cheeky enough to put pre-cuts into it already, so I've got my guides in as well, and I'm following that too. I'm refining the haircut. That's the language people use when they do precision cutting, when they dry cut. So I'm refining. And I'm using my scissors as a guide, as you can see as well, and I'm following that coming down through. You guys will probably be able to better see than I can coming down through. But I don't, again, the shorter pieces through the crown, and I'm just bringing it into that, and then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to gently take off the ends.
So obviously I've just dried the hair with my flat brush, get it to its natural fall. You can see that sort of slimness and flatness that I get from the head hugging layer. And I think always with a crop, it's good when you comb it down, you see that you don't have that odd bump of weight just behind the crown. So if I end up with that, I know my cutting angle isn't quite to the head. I probably need to round it off a bit more to make sure that it feels a bit more fluid. Now, like I said, for the barcode fringe on here, what I like doing is kind of combing everything onto the skin and locking it there. So it sits fairly flat first, and then I'm working with the blade at a slight angle and chipping into the fringe to create these almost like little shards or triangles to texturize the edge. So I don't really want it to feel wispy. I still want it to feel textured but intentional, not just like, you know, someone chewed on it. That could be cool too. And what I would love, if there's anyone who hears, I would love a little inner piece whipped cream from the backstage just to finish the hair with
like one that I've got right here right now that I'm using.
Aren't you a star, Scott?
So you're using this cream,
Yeah,
Scott?
so again, I use this quite a bit for different reasons, but at the moment what I'm doing, it's got beeswax amongst other things in it as well. It's a nice cream. But what I'm also doing is I'm using our product, which is I Create Shine, and if you see, it makes the cream disappear, and I'm using that as a means to break or cast and soften. It's got a lovely smell. I'll not ask you to come and smell it, but if you come up, touch here again, you maybe get a whiff of that coming through. Product-wise, I worked with a colour shampoo and conditioner, which is in the range of Innersense, but then what I did with the, I actually put a foam base in first of all, so we've got I Create Lift. So that gave me a lighter base, and then you saw me working the gel through it. So that gave me my cast afterwards. I then took some time.
And the gel, is that what you were working through at the base?
Yeah, I literally, and again, I needed to work the gel into the hair with water. It does draw water in really nicely, but I had to put more in it, so I stayed at the basins as I did that. But what I find with that is I get quite a quick dry on it, whereas anybody else that works with Innersense, I might have done it the other way about. I might have put the gel on first and then put a topper on with the foam, which will give me a nice glaze, but I find that I can get quite a quick dry, and because of the time we had today, I'm just deconstructing. I'm keeping a level of definition on the ends of it, but at the root, I'm breaking it down. Now, obviously, naturally, when it's lived in, you're going to see over day 1, day 2, day 3 a natural expansion on it, and depending how she looks after it. How's it looking so far? Can you see what I've done?
Looks
like
fantastic,
it?
Yeah,
Scott.
stunning.
And
wow.
I just
There you
really
are.
want to highlight the color work here also. On Danny, we've gone with a demi on a level 8, gold and natural 50-50 with a 5 volume. So it just gives this like super natural, nice flat brown, not too much warmth coming through. And I've used our Inner Piece Whipped Cream Texturizer, which is actually a curl cream. It works really well for finishing hair. So I just warmed that up in my hands. It's got a little bit of beeswax and honey, so it gives me that beautiful hold on the edges to pinch my fringe a little bit. With Scott's model, for the color, I think you remember that better than I do.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. Yeah, so we used 12N, 40 volume through mid-lengths and ends. When I come back, and I put it on as a virgin, I left off the roots, come back into the roots with, it was between 20 and 30 vol, I did half and half, just so that I could get an even result. We got the lift, I was happy with that, and then we worked with the demi, which is a true demi, going back to putting the 5 vol in it, and I worked with 8 copper, copper, and gold. And a third, and a third, and I put it on for 20 minutes.
So here's 2 variations of Innersense blondes. What we've done here today is working with a lighter base. So we have foiled through the whole head of hair with small weaves to give a softer grow out. So basically a platinum card with weaves. A lot of work went into that one. And to get a bit of a change from the apricot, we've also opted for more of a cool blonde. So once we've pre-lightened the hair, we've gone for a toner with half of our white to dilute the tone, and then another half of our level 10 violet. So really just neutralize the yellow, and just a little drop of level 10 ash or blue to give that slightly more grayy finish to the hair. So loving this. And then on Kat's hair, equally pre-lightened, all the way through with our Pure Brilliance powder lightener and 20 volume. So you can see that that's a real powerhouse. It gives you amazing amount of lift, and it lifts super clean. So that was the pre-lightener. And now for the tonality, we've gone for 2 different options here. We got slightly more bluey gray and more of a sort of rosewood or pinky color. On the bluer side, again, we diluted it really heavily with our white, and then we worked with level 8 ash, as well as a little bit of our ash mixed tone. And we did a little sort of yin-yang placement with half and half color to kind of really show off the contrasts and tonality. I just think it goes so well with the outfit, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. It's an incredible total look.
For the pinkier side, similarly, lots and lots of white. So around 90% of the color mass is our diluting tone. And then we worked with level 8 violet, as well as our red intensity tone or mixed tone, to really kind of amp up that sort of redness and pinkness in the color.
Here are your gorgeous models. We're going to say goodbye at the moment to Scott and Peretti, and then the models will be back with you to be able to take pictures.
I'm very passionate about the fellowship. You can tell, and I see that the fellowship are giving people that wouldn't always get a platform the opportunity to be in front of the camera, to talk, to showcase. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the fellowship.